We welcome you to the ADHD Smarter Parenting Podcast. Here to heal and elevate lives is your parenting coach, Siope Kinikini.
Hey everybody, welcome. My name is Siope. I'm one of the hosts here at the Smarter Parenting Podcast. I'm glad that you're joining me today. Today we're going to be talking about motivation. How do we get our children to be motivated to do things that they need to do, or how do we motivate them to do things that they should do? Now, this is a topic that comes up quite a bit with a lot of parents. There are so many parents who call in with their issues that their child is just not motivated to either do schoolwork or to participate in sports or to do other things. This particular podcast is focused on describing the different types of motivation so you can understand what works best for children. Now, this can be for children with ADHD, but also with any child that may be struggling to do the things that they need to do. So there are three things that I want to cover during this podcast. First, I want to talk about motivation. I want to explain the different types of motivation that are out there and what's most effective. And then I want to work with you on a skill called SODAS, or problem solving, or decision making. And we have this skill on the Smarter Parenting website. So you can jump over to the website, you can download the steps to this skill, and we can walk through how you are going to better work with your child on making decisions that help motivate them to do the things that they need to do. All right? So that's what we're going to cover today. Now, the first thing, I want to talk about motivation. So what is motivation? And obviously, we all know what motivation is. It's this desire to get something done. So you have this need or this push, this pull for you to get things completed. And children inherently struggle with finding motivations to do things. So there are two different types of motivation that I want to focus on. And what's interesting about these two types is that it's important for you as a parent to know about them, but also which one works best for children. So this reluctance to invest effort in difficult tasks, that is always the issue with a lot of parents when they introduce something to a child or they are having their child do something that they need to do, like chores or homework or whatever it may be. So the two different types of motivation are intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation refers to doing an activity for the joy of it. So I want you to think about something you enjoy doing, you're motivated to do. A lot of people like to run. That's motivating to them. Okay. Now, that's something that people will do out of the mere joy of what it brings to them. And when we have intrinsic motivation, the engagement and the results are far better than if we have extrinsic motivation. So let's talk about extrinsic motivation and what that is. Extrinsic motivation refers to doing an activity for separate outcomes. So not because you enjoy it, but because there is a separate reward or there's something out there that is kind of compelling you to do it, that is motivating to you. So for adults, for example, you could say your job, is it an intrinsic or extrinsic motivating thing for you? Okay, are you doing it because it brings you joy and it's something that you look forward to doing? Or is it intrinsic? Am I doing this because it provides a paycheck and it covers my bills? Okay, so very different. And if you think about it that way as an adult, you'll notice that there is a very different feeling when we say things are intrinsic and when things are extrinsic. When things are intrinsic, we do things because of joy. That tends to make the things that we do far more effective and far more beautiful and enjoyable. We tend to be a lot happier with it. Extrinsic motivation, not as inspiring. And in fact, a lot of people find that they will move on or try to find something that's more intrinsically motivating for them. Our children are not different than us in this area. They have intrinsic motivations for what they do and extrinsic motivations for what they do. Now, we have talked a lot about chore charts here. We've talked about different things that parents can do to help motivate their children to behave a certain way. Many of those things are effective. However, they are extrinsic, and the ultimate goal is to make them intrinsic. How do we make this task a joy or enjoyable for your child? And how do we engage them in more positive ways? Now, I'm going to give you a list of things that you can do, and I want you to problem solve around it using the skill of decision making. All right? So, when you are working with a child who is struggling to be intrinsically motivated to do something, you may need to rely on extrinsic motivating factors, meaning a chore chart, meaning a reward jar. Those things do work for a time, but you'll find that you'll have to adapt and adjust over time because those things will change quite a bit. So our goal is to bring your children into being more intrinsically motivated to doing the tasks that they need to do. So we have to be very keenly aware about the interests of our children. What are the things that motivate them normally when they are at home during free time? Where do they spend their time? What do they do? If you are able to observe what your child is doing during their free time, that gives you a better idea of what it is that is intrinsically motivating to them. And is there a way to tie that into what they are currently doing or to make it relevant to what they currently need to do as a task? Now, I received a phone call from a parent who is working with their child, and they are a scouting family. They love scouts. They want their child to participate in scouts. However, when they go on campouts, their son is just uninterested. He does not participate. He complains. He does not enjoy it. And yet, his father was trying to find a way to make it more motivating for him. And so he started using rewards. So I'm going to reward you if you stay and participate, if you do this. So they set up this whole system. And those are extrinsically motivating, but there was still this lack of connection with the activity itself. And so we talked about how do we bring his child into intrinsically motivating him to participate in scouting, and is there a connection with the things that he currently enjoys connected to scouting as a whole? So we started to explore, and this is where decision-making comes in, because with decision-making, you have a situation. So this child is struggling. What are my options? The situation is my child is going to scout camp but is not enjoying it. What are my options as a parent to help my child be more excited about it? Decision-making is a skill that we teach on the Smarter Parenting website. And each of the letters of SODAS, which is what we call it, the SODAS method, stands for something specific. So it's an acronym, SODAS. The first S is situation. The O is for options. The D is for disadvantages. The A is for advantages. And the last S is for solution. So as a parent, what you are going to do is you're going to describe the situation. Okay, my child goes to scout camp but does not enjoy it. How do I intrinsically motivate him to participate in scouting? Options. What are the options? I can keep using other motivators to keep him engaged and hope that he will begin to like it. I can shorten the time that he goes to scout camp. I can bring something to scout camp that will be more exciting for him to do while he's there. Okay, so 3 different options. The D of SODAS is disadvantages. So for each of those, you're going to list down what are the disadvantages to each of those options that you just listed. Then you will go down to the next A and list the advantages to each of those options, and then determine from there, through the disadvantages and advantages, which option is the best fit. Now, this parent decided that the third option was the best. Bring something to help him enjoy his time there. And so we had to talk about that. What are you going to bring? Because you don't want to bring a phone that doesn't work there. You don't want to bring something that would be highly distracting. And he had mentioned that there was a pocket knife that his grandfather had that he has always liked, and he likes to whittle. So, that was the option. Let's bring the pocket knife to scout camp and have him create some things. Now, safely, of course, because we want to be safe with knives and teaching safety around that. But that was something to help engage him in an activity that he previously did not enjoy or did not like in a way that is connecting with something that is intrinsically motivating for him. You can find things that connect with children in their everyday life with the tasks that they need to do. You may be wondering, how do I get my kid motivated to do their homework? Okay. It depends on the homework. So I know I have worked with a family where math was the issue. They just struggled with math. They didn't want to do math until I decided to work with the family on a shopping list. So we went with a shopping list, went to the store. We had money and a calculator, and we had him go through and list items that he could afford with how much money he had and enough to give himself a reward at the end. However much he could save from his shopping, he could keep. And so he was motivated by trying to figure out, okay, how do I get everything on this list and still have enough for myself? That was intrinsically motivating to him. And at the same time, it helped him study math. It helped him understand numbers, how to add, how to subtract, and then how to negotiate. Okay, so there are ways to do this if you can really think about how can we make this a real world application, or how can we bring in something that they intrinsically enjoy or like into the tasks that they are currently doing. So that was one thing that we did. For another child who had a difficult time reading, did not like to read, we started off with picture books, and then we started off with having this child who loves art making his own books. And it got pretty fancy because he really loved creating these books. So in order to create a book, you'd have to draw pictures. Well, then the question was, well, these pictures are great, but what's the story? Everyone's going to look at the pictures and they'll see something different. Why don't you write what we're supposed to understand about the picture? And then that's where the writing came in. So it's a roundabout way, but it's using things that are intrinsically motivating for your child in order to help them. You can do this. You can figure out exactly what you need to do to help your child by using the skill of SODAS or decision making. So sit down. Here's a situation. My child is struggling. What are my options? How do I integrate something that they intrinsically are motivated with into the task that they need to do? How can I make that connection or make that a reality so they can feel more intrinsically motivated and do it more successfully? So that is your challenge, is to spend some time as a parent going through the skill of SODAS, so decision making, and determining what is the one task your child struggles doing. Is it cleaning their room? Okay, if it's cleaning their room, what are some options based off of what you know of your child is intrinsically motivating in order to get them to clean their room? All right. So those are things that you can work out and you can work through. There is a solution to that one, by the way, but I'm going to let you figure that one out. And actually, every child is different. So every child is going to be able to adapt to it, and things are not always motivating for one child as it is for another. All right. So that's my challenge. Use this skill to work through the motivation that your child is struggling with. Use decision-making as a parent so you can determine your best approach in making things more intrinsically motivating. Remember, if you cannot find something intrinsically motivating to connect, you will have to use extrinsic motivation systems. However, you want to transition over to intrinsic as soon as possible because you'll have far better outcomes and a far better return if they are intrinsically motivated to do things. All right, that's it for me. For more information, you can jump over to the Smarter Parenting website. We have the skill there in addition to other parenting skills. They're all available there for free. Short video clips that will teach you how to use the skills. And it's just a fantastic resource for you as a parent. All right, so take care, have a great one, and I will see you soon.